The Chicago Bulls never cease to amaze me. With the noise surrounding this team reaching an all-time high, the Chicago Bulls would go down 22-1 in the first quarter against the red-hot Miami Heat team before amazingly coming back and beating them 102-97. Now look, I know that coming back from a 21-point deficit in the first quarter isn't the craziest thing ever, especially when we're in the middle of a three-point renaissance, but when you factor in the context surrounding this situation, the Bulls' comeback win is actually sort of impressive. Coming into that Bulls vs. Heat game, the Miami Heat had won 7 straight games. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bulls were 1-4 in their last 5, with their only win coming against the Detroit Pistons, who own the longest losing streak of any team this year. This Bulls team could have easily fallen apart after being down 21 in the first quarter, but instead they had other plans. Even with this tough win though, Zach LaVine wouldn't be happy. Guys, at this moment in time, the Bulls are a mess and things just took a drastic turn. But first, what you see on your screen right now is a free square courtesy of PrizePicks, who just so happens to be the sponsor of today's content. With this free square, all you have to do is select it and watch Christian McCaffrey, who has been going berserk this season, rush for over 0.5 rushing and receiving yards, and you win. The only catch is that this square is only for a limited time, meaning that you need to pair this square with another player as soon as possible if you want to take advantage of this offer. So I'm going to be pairing McCaffrey with some beasts who usually don't let me down. Let me know what you guys think of my lineups down in the comments below. Now, when you guys sign up for PrizePicks, remember to use code COOP to get your first deposit matched for up to $100. Thank you, PrizePicks, for coming through and sponsoring today's content. The comments surrounding Zach LaVine's abrupt exit and that miraculous comeback victory would be all over the place. Media outlets thought what Zach LaVine did was terrible. Meanwhile, a lot of the general public was wondering why the Bulls PR manager was even so aggressive in the first place. Zach LaVine himself would call this situation nothing more than a misunderstanding between him and the PR team, and say that everything was fine, while Zach's agent Rich Paul would echo a similar sentiment, saying that this whole thing is being blown out of proportion and actually happens more times than not. He continued by saying that it's just the timing of it all with all of the trade talks, which makes it out to be something that it's not. Players run away avoiding post-game interviews all of the time. For one, I was shocked that Rich Paul even decided to speak on this incident, but maybe I shouldn't have been, considering that this whole thing kind of blew up. There's a report out there from Jay Cowley Hoops that says that Billy Donovan was downright ticked off by LaVine's post-game behavior, with Billy Donovan himself saying that him declining that interview was handled internally. Regardless of how you feel about this situation, I think that we can all agree that it was completely avoidable, and like Rich Paul alluded to, it only fuels those rumors that have started to look more and more convincing. In our last Zach LaVine video, we talked about how the Lakers, Heat, and 76ers were all potentially interested in Zach. Well, since that video, the list has grown, with apparently LaVine and his representation making their desired landing spots known. According to Shams, the Raptors are also expected to show some level of interest in LaVine, and according to Jake L. Fisher, on top of the Lakers, Heat, and 76ers, LaVine and his camp have also been eyeing the San Antonio Spurs as a potential destination, so that he could team up with rookie sensation Victor Wembanyama while reuniting with Greg Popovich, who oversaw the 2020 Team USA team that won a gold medal in Tokyo. I could subscribe to Zach LaVine joining San Antonio and playing that role of a veteran star for a young team while he thrives under Pop, who had him locked in during that Team USA run. But there's just one problem. The Spurs seem content playing the long game with their once-in-a-lifetime prospect, and you can also make the argument that Devin Vassell, who is ascending rapidly, will be better than LaVine very, very soon. Vassell, like LaVine, is a shot-creating sharpshooter who is shooting 49.6% from the field and a dumb 43.1% from deep this season. Vassell, unlike LaVine, is also on a very team-friendly deal. I love LaVine, but San Antonio trading for him just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Now, the next destination that LaVine's camp listed makes much more sense than San Antonio did, at least to me. And that next destination is none other than Sacramento, where Zach LaVine would seemingly be a perfect fit alongside superstar guard De'Aaron Fox and playmaking big man Domantas Sabonis. Mind you, that Zach signed an offer sheet with the Kings in 2018, before ultimately landing back in Chicago because of the Bulls matching it. I love the idea of Zach landing in Sacramento. Honestly, that's probably one of my favorite landing spots for him so far. According to Shams, the Kings are expected to be active on the trade market, and if they fail to land Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby, who are players that they are expected to be interested in, I don't think that Zach LaVine would be a bad consolation prize at all. I know that a lot of people hate on LaVine and say things like former Knicks GM Scott Perry said here, basically alluding to the fact that Zach LaVine isn't the winner, but I'm not sure that LaVine is the fault for some of those bad Bulls teams. Could he have been better? Sure. But is he the only reason that the Bulls have only made the playoffs one time during his tenure? No. I hate how franchises failing to put the right roster or coach around a player can form all sorts of narratives. Remember the hate that Wiggins got before he moved to Golden State and found a role that suited him? Remember how all of the Kings' shortcomings fell on DeMarcus Cousins despite him doing all that he could to will those rosters to victory? In the NBA, a situation can shape perception, and to me, Zach LaVine is currently in one of those situations. Zach LaVine is one coach away from changing a lot of people's perspective on him, and there's a chance that this coach could be Mike Brown, who is a player's coach, but is one that doesn't take any nonsense. Just ask De'Aaron, who Mike has helped turn into a menace on the defensive side of the basketball this season if coaching matters. To me, Zach LaVine joining an emerging Kings team makes a lot more sense than him going and joining a Hornets team that probably should be focused on rebuilding and adding two-way players more than anything. When I look at the Hornets roster, I don't look at it and say, yes, this is a team that could use more offense. Get these guys more offense. Charlotte, I am begging you guys, please get my man Mark Williams some help on the defensive side of the basketball. This team needs it in the worst way. They don't need more offense. As much fun as Zach LaVine and Charlotte would be, and as much as I want LaMelo Ball to have as much help as possible, I just feel like there are better avenues to success than adding Zach LaVine. Imagine the Hornets trade for LaVine and against all odds are still bad and go on to give the Bulls premium draft capital in the process. That would be a disaster for Charlotte. So we've talked a lot about potential LaVine destinations and where he wants to play. What about where he doesn't want to play? Well, apparently LaVine has no interest in joining the Knicks. To quote as Bondi NBA, there are multiple reasons that a LaVine to the Knicks deal won't happen. A source reiterated to the Post that LaVine's camp would prefer not to go to Leon Rose's squad. Look, I know that a lot of Knicks fans don't want LaVine at all, but to me that doesn't make it any less comedy that LaVine looked at New York and was like, nope, there is no shot that you send me to what they have going on there. Honestly, I need to know this man's reasoning on this one. I need Paul George to get this man on a podcast as soon as he is traded. It's not even like the Knicks are bad or anything right now. Honestly, if anything, I feel like their team is a bit underrated. Guys, in the comments below, let me know what team that you think fits LaVine best. And also, let me know what team that you think that he ends up getting traded to. Will we see Zach LaVine and LaMelo Ball teaming up in Charlotte? Or will Zach LaVine get his dream of playing with LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers? Again, guys, let me know what you think of everything down in the comments below. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.